Hi guys, welcome back. We are in Chapter 9, Layers, Compositing, and Process, in our textbook Exploring Adobe Photoshop CS6 with CC Enhancements. I'm going to just briefly go over some of the information for this final Lesson 9, 9.3e poster project. Now we're going to break from the step-by-step study and explore some of the blending and filter effects and begin to flex your own individual creative artistic muscle. So the pretend situation is that you've been approached by the Krohn Conservatory in Cincinnati to create a poster for marketing purposes. They provided a few guidelines and content for the project, and they are open to all possibilities. So here's an example of a poster using some different filters, type masks, blending modes, so on, in response to this particular project. Now, the required text and the selection of the photographs are provided in Chapter 9, Lesson Assets. So let's go into Lesson 9. All right. Well, I thought it downloaded earlier this morning, and I thought it did download quite easily. Maybe it did not download quite so easily as I think. I will be back in just a moment as I check this out. All right, here we go. We should be in business now. We are going to go into our Chapter 9 data files. And we're going to open up the assets. And you'll see within the assets all of the images that you could use. And then under poster text, if we open that up just briefly, you'll see that this is the text that you need to use for the poster project. The heading is living color. These subheadings all year long. This is the body copy, and then the tag. And you'll see how the, again, in your textbook, or I can open this as well, how they have taken the heading, which is living color, the subheading, which is all year long. They've used some of the images, obviously not all of them. The copy, Marvel, at Cincinnati Park's nationally recognized showcase of more than 3,500 plant species from around the world. And then the final tag, which is the bottom section, and how they have adapted that into a poster. The first thing that the textbook says, let's get back here, get rid of some of that. The guidelines are you'll want to follow the dimensions, which are, and you'll open this up in Photoshop where you'll do a file and new. And the width would be 18 inches. The height would be 24 inches. The resolution is 150 pixels per inch. And then the color mode is RGB. And it will eventually be converted to CMYK for printing. And the textbook is recommending that you explore different design ideas by doing some thumbnail sketches. I don't require that you hand those in. For those of you that have not done thumbnails before, however, they're just small little sketches of ideas for your poster design. They're very little detail, primarily basic shapes, but again, just giving you an idea as to the kind of layout and some ideas that you may have for your poster design. All right, and then you're to save your final work in both PSD and TIFF format. Now, if you find, because you've got a lot of imagery involved in this poster, or you potentially could, that the file is rather unwieldy and you're having difficulty uploading it, you can always save this out as a JPEG. That flattens it, it will reduce the file size, and then you'll have little difficulty in uploading it. So there's the background image or the background layer. Now let's go into File and Open. Whoops, I did not want to browse in Bridge. Do that all the time. Sorry. It's going to take a minute because it thinks I want to go to Bridge. Just going to X out of here. Do a File. File and Open from Photoshop. And you can browse in Bridge. Absolutely, it will give you an opportunity to see what the images are. But instead, I am going to go out here to the Assets file in my weekly content. And I'm just going to open up green ground cover maybe. And if you want to open multiple documents, just hold down your command. Pink flowers, purple, let's do a waterfall, and orange berries. All right, and here are all of the images that I opened in order to use them potentially for my final document. Let's go to Untitled. All right, and so that's how you get started. If I think I'm going to use this green ground cover, for example, I'll go select all of it, do a Command or Control A from that document, close it out, and then I'll go back into my Untitled and do Command V to paste. We hope it pastes. Maybe I didn't open, or maybe I didn't copy it well enough. I might have been on the wrong layer. So let's go back up there. We'll do an Open Recent, and we're going to open the orange berries. No, it wasn't. That wasn't it. I had the ground cover, right? Do a file, and I guess we'll have to navigate back out here to my data files. Green ground cover. I'm going to open that. Then I'm going to do a Select All, Command or Control A, Command or Control C, and then I'm going to look for that Untitled image again. And I'm going to do a Command or Control V. And so that looks like maybe one I want to work with. Let's go to Purple Berries, Command All to select all, Command C to copy it. We're going to go back into Untitled and to do Command V to paste it in. And let's try working this with a ground cover. Right, so let's say I want to mask that ground cover like they did in their poster image. So what was some of the type that they wanted here? Let's take a look at the poster text again. Living color is the heading. So I'm going to do a copy, Command C, and go back into Photoshop, do paste. That's pasting as a vector smart object. I don't really want that, so I'm going to toss that out. First you have to place it. And the reason that I don't want it is because I've decided I want to create type and mask that green. So I'm going to get the type tool. I'm going to click once. I already have one type layer. What was that in going to do it all color. And I'm going to highlight that, and then I'm going to make that larger. The quick key approach to making type larger is Command and Shift or Control and Shift, depending on what system you're on, and then your more than key, and I just hold it down until it gets to be about the size that I want it to be. And that's close. Although I want a little bit thicker typeface in order to make that the greenery show up in it. So I'm going to go back to this type. I'm going to highlight it with the type tool. Then I'm going to go to this narrow, and I'm going to see if there is a bold, Arial bold. Let's see what that looks like. That's better. Although definitely not perfect. And I'm going to just make this a little bit smaller because I want it to, the mask to go into all of the letter forms equally. So let's go down to maybe 130 and see what that looks like. Maybe 120. Okay, that looks like that might work. A little bit too big yet. And to first take a look at this and see whether or not I like the effect. I'm going to hold down the Alt if I'm on a PC, Option if I'm on a Mac. I'm going to make sure that the image layer is above my text layer, and then I'm going to try to create this mask. And there it is. So the text is masked inside of that of the letter forms, but again I can see that it needs to be a little bit larger text and it needs to be a little bit bigger image. So I am going to undo that. I'm going to get rid of that. I am going to highlight that text again with the type tool. And I'm going to select a larger, more impactful. Let's try that black regular. And I really still think that it needs to be a little bit larger than that, so I am going to stack it so that I can 120 points, and let's see if I can get the character panel up so I can change the leading, which is the spacing between the letters, or between the lines of type. And you'll see the reason why they're sitting right on top of one another is my type is at 120 points, my leading is at 9 points. So I'm going to make it, let's see, what does it look like at 72 points? Not much better. Let's do it at 100 points and see what happens. Living color is working out just fine, but the one in living color is still right on top of it. So I'm going to change the way that the paragraph is aligned. I'm going to make that a center alignment. I don't know why I have all those little 9 points there, but we'll see if this works now. Try it again. All right, that looks like that might work. Now let's, again, make this a little bit larger. So I'm going to go in and maybe make this 200 and the leading 200 as well. I could even make that leading 190. I could get it to highlight it. Let's try even smaller than that. Let's try 150. I want it stacked a little bit closer to one another. I don't want it quite on top of each other, but I wish this would let me. Yeah, there we go, 150. How does that look? A little bit better. Okay, so 150. Now I'm going to pull up the paragraph and I'm going to align that by center. And then I'm going to get this and close this out and see. All right, I would still work with this a lot, but for the demonstration purposes, I am just going to try to get these masked again, and then I'm going to let you go on your own. So I'm going to take this layer, and remember, when you're creating a mask, the image layer has to be on top of the shape it is that you want to mask. So I'm going to click and drag that here in terms of the layer ordering. And then I am going to move this right about here. I want some of those nice purple berries showing. Then I'm going to hold down my Alt if you're on a PC, Option if you're on a Mac, and click, and a little bit better. Not, I would still, again, work with this quite a bit. The one thing that I might do is if I were going to get rid of this layer, I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to put some background color in it. And then I'm going to add a stroke around the title, and then I'll, again, leave you to your own devices. So let's say layer 3, I'm going to fill it with, let's see what it looks like filled with a foreground color as it is right now. So let's go to File, Edit, Fill, and we'll fill with foreground color. And then we're going to click OK. I don't really like that. All right, so let's pick another color. I'm going to get my eyedropper and pick up some of that kind of light purple in that berry. And you'll see that as soon as I eyedropped a color, it shows in my foreground color here, or my fill color. Really. Now let's, now that I've got that color selected, let's go to Edit and Fill. And then we're going to fill that again with foreground color and see what that looks like. Yikes. All right, so let's gonna pick up one of these little yellow or kind of beigeish colors. Again, we're going to go to Edit, Fill, and we're going to fill it with a foreground color. I don't know how I did that, but let's go to Edit and Fill. Fill it with a foreground color. All right, again, could work, but I think I'm going to instead, let's get the Move tool, and I'm going to move this up just a touch. In fact, I'm going to move them both up. So I'm going to hold down my Shift and select both the layer as well as the fill color in that layer, and I'm going to bump it up just a bit. Then I'm going to select just layer 2, and I am going to click and drag that around just a little bit to see if I can find a more pleasing positioning for the color that I have in there thus far. So when I get it just about where I like it, I'll leave it there. And then I'm going to go back and highlight the type color again, and this time I'm going to put a stroke on the type just to make it a little bit more obvious in terms of standing out from the background. So I'll try a stroke first, and I may end up with a shadow, but let's try a stroke. We're going to make sure it's previewed, and you'll see that that's a black stroke. It's just 2 pixels, so maybe if I made it a little bit, oh yikes. You can see the pixel, this is at 6 pixels, that doesn't work too bad. But instead of a stroke, let's take that off and let's try a drop shadow instead and see how that works. I might even like that a little bit better. I might have to change again the leading to make it a little bit further apart. We could even bevel and emboss that to make it stand out even more. So let's, if you want to get the options for that particular part of the layer style, you need to click here in the body of the name. And I'm going to say I want a pillow emboss. And I want it chisel hard. And you can see each time you make one of those changes, it does have an impact on the way that it looks. Alright, so say I am going to live with that option that I've just chosen, the layer effect. If that's the case, then I cannot live with how closely they're leaded. So I am going to again bring up the character panel. And I'm going to change this leading to about 190. Let's try that. Well, not 1,901,150 points. We definitely don't want that, but how about 190? A little bit better. Okay, so no, it's not really. It needs to be leaded a little bit more tightly. So again, to get you started, you have your choice of images. You have to use the type and the size. We will not be printing it, but you can save it out as a JPEG, a Photoshop document, or a TIFF to upload it to Blackboard. So hopefully that helps. If you run into trouble, or if you need some assistance, need another demo, make sure and let me know. Thanks guys, and I will see you later.